From the City of Angels, you're listening to the James Salazar Media Podcast. On today's episode, we're going to talk about movies and pop culture. So let me strike the music, and I'll meet you on the other side.
Engage. Ask not what your country can do for you. Ask what you can do.
It's one small step for man, one giant leap for mankind.
Say hello to my little friend.
No, I am your father.
I'd like to take this chance to apologize to absolutely nobody.
And welcome to the James Salazar Media Podcast, where you get your weekly dose of pop culture, politics, and futurism. I am the formerly mentioned James Salazar, your host. How is everyone doing? We're at the end of summer. I think like one more week and then we're done. We're done ski. Just came from a week of vacation in sunny Laughlin, Nevada. It was hot, 120 degrees, and the river was cold, which was like 60 degrees. So when you jumped in, it took a lot of willpower and pain. It was the kind of cold that's painful, but it was awesome. Spent time with family, conversed, gossiped, talked the shit about other people. Because that's what families do. And yeah, it went well. It went well. But in our society today, things are still crazy. So crazy. One of my pet peeves right now is still over the freaking shutdown. We're getting a lot of people getting in fights, shooting people, running people over, smacking people over, wearing masks and social distancing, mostly wearing masks. Look, I'm with everybody. I think they would garnish more, not obedience, but garnish more goodwill towards the shutdown if they just believed in the American people and suggested it. But there's something that just happens when you make a law and say they have to do it. Then some people are just willing to fight for their freedom. You know, our country, one of our greatest models in our country is give me liberty or give me death. And there's some people who are generally out there saying, are just going to stand against what the governor of California is doing where I live, and just be obstinate, and because it's a matter of principle. I mean, you can suggest, we can have a social contract. The social contracts that we have in our country of how we're going to act and who we're going to help are not laws, but we all believe in them. Because it's part of our principles and our value system. But once you decide, and all the problems and all the troubles come when you make it a law. When the government tries to tell you what to do. The uniqueness of America is that all the laws are given to all the laws in the Constitution of the United States are to give the people power and give less power to the government. Now, we're far from that now. We're not like other countries. We're still the most freest country in the world. And definitely there's issues and troubles and, there's some problems that come with that. But we're willing to deal with those problems to maintain our freedom. At least most of us are. So we got a big problem right now with people, with the government saying you have to do this. And so people are not doing it. Just to be obstinate. But I see a flaw with those people who are not doing it, and this is what it is. They keep on going into private businesses and declaring their rights as Americans. And this is a big problem, because your rights stop at a private business. When you're on the public, you can say, this is America, freedom of speech. I can do what I want. But once you walk into like Walmart, your freedoms stop there. When you go into Walmart, the private business, you do what they ask. It's just like if someone went into your house and they said, well, and they started telling you what you should do and what you should watch. You would say, hey, homie, hey, vato, don't be telling me to do it in my house. Your rights do not exist in my house. And if you don't like it, get out of my house. And we got a lot of people going around saying, this is America. I don't have to wear a mask while walking into Walmart. No. This is not America. This is Walmart. Okay? And your rights stop at the door. If you don't like that, then go shop somewhere else where they're going to allow you not to have a mask. So there's a misconception with their freedoms right there that people need to get over. No. And like I'm for, I'm for trusting the American people to and making a social contract to social distance and wear masks until we know that coronavirus has herd immunity out and it's no longer a problem, or we have a vaccine, whatever it might be. But people need to understand where their rights start and where they end. They end at people's private property. Don't be going into a grocery market and looking like a fool and saying, this is America, these are my rights, when that's not how it works in America. We believe in personal property, and that personal property is run by you. Nor the government can't tell you what to do with your personal property, and no one else. All right? So don't be a fool because you look stupid. If you don't look for stores that don't care if you wear a mask or not. Patronize. Become a customer to those stores. But when you walk into a company or someone's house, you have to abide by their rules or get the fuck out. That's it. All right? Your rights stop at the door. Right? Because your right of private property supersedes people's constitutional rights. When you're in someone's house or when you're in a company, your right to free speech is limited as much as they allow it. Your right to carry a gun in there is limited as much as they allow it. Your right to assembly, can't assembly in somebody's house without their will, just the way it works. So understand that, because those who are on the side of freedom are looking stupid because they think their rights of freedom tramples other people's rights of personal property. Don't make that mistake. That's all I'm saying. The president just extended the unemployment insurance. There's some flaws in it. It's a whole new program. It's not added to the unemployment insurance. It's something that the states are going to have to create, and they're going to put it on top, and they're going to have to work it out. So you're looking for like 2 months. I mean, knowing how California works, it takes about 2 months for them to implement anything. And it's only for 5 weeks when you calculate how much how much money they allocated for this. So I don't know. It seems like a symbolic gesture than anything. And I'm typically for not giving money because I do think people are incentivized not to work. But if the state they live in are shut down, then I think they should. If your state is fully shut down, not very thoughtful in that regard, and they're keeping you from work, and they're keeping your kids from going to school, so you can't work, and they want you to do some kind of distance learning, and you have to stay home to do that, then I think the federal government has to step in, and before certain businesses and homes and families are not devastated because the governor is someone who tends to be more totalitarian in his views. He wants to control people. I mean, we have Mayor Garcetti trying to control people by shutting out their lights if they have a party at their house. And that's just going to garnish more protest. There will be a protest if this keeps up. Just like there was for George Floyd. And it is everybody's right. I personally think, and it has to be a consensus and unity that all the entrepreneurs should open up in protest. They should use the word protest in opening up, and which is their constitutional right. You see, you have a right to assembly. It doesn't say how and which way you should assemble. You can assemble in a restaurant. You can assemble at a park. You can assemble at Disneyland. You can assemble in the streets to protest injustice. Right now, we have certain governors who tend on control, and they are trampling the rights of certain people and allowing other, because what the other people are protesting about and assembling about in protest are more closer to their values. Well, that's not how the Constitution should work. Governors shouldn't pick and choose who's important and who's not. And there's going to be a lot of lawsuits from churches and from companies that go down to sue the state of California for implementing laws that are completely unconstitutional. And I get it. It's for our own good. I get it. Would you want the whole world to die? And just because people don't maintain their rights, I understand the argument. But you can't allow certain other people to do it and not the other. We're clearly in a upswing of new corona cases because there were protests of millions of people gathering and not social distancing. About a quarter to almost half of the people were not wearing masks. And that's enough to get this spike of new cases. So the law has to be laid evenly. Even though I think there shouldn't be a law, we should, as a community, to social distance and wear masks for the good of the people. Because this is a nation for the people, by the people, and of the people. And when you garner that type of sentiment, you won't need laws. Make it a social contract. Believe in the people. Open up the economy. And let people social distance. Let people wear masks. Let companies who want people to social distance or wear a mask, allow them to take that position, not the government, to shut them down, to control it. It's creating a big problem, and we might not come back. We might not come back from this, even when it is opened. It might be too late. Too many businesses might have gone down, and we cannot get back up. There's going to have to be major programs towards entrepreneurs when we open up to allow them to risk again. But how can you risk opening up a business when you know that the government's first reaction to any bad news is to shut everything down? Right? So you're not going to invest into the economy to create jobs if that's how your governor acts. You're going to wait till it's completely gone. Well, that could never happen. So first thing you need to do is have faith and trust in your governor that he signs on freedom instead of siding with people, siding on the fact that people will regulate themselves given a chance. If you tell them the stakes, they will make the right decisions. I believe that truly. If you make it a choice between their freedom or the law, people are going to always choose their freedom, even though the law may be for their own good. People will choose freedom. That's the value we have in our country, and people seem not to get it. You know, it's a brand new, this is still a brand new experience, only 250 years old. That the idea that people should govern themselves Instead, most people felt through history that people needed to be controlled and put a thumb upon them to keep society good. This is a brand new experience, and the verdict's still out for some people. Some people still believe people need to be controlled. Obviously, the governor of California believes that. He will not trust the American people. He will not trust the California people to act right. He will make sure there's laws to punish people who don't act right. So, I know I'm supposed to talk about movies, but this is something that was on my mind. Quick futurism news. SpaceX launches its Starship. What's the name of that Starship? Let me get that for you. That is the Starship SN5. It did a controlled ascent and descent with its boosters, which will allow us to save tons of money because we're talking about millions and billions of dollars, billions and trillions of dollars to be in fact, venturing out into space, and to have these booster rockets to, once it gets the ship into orbit, they fall back into Earth, but they will be controlled landed, and they'll be able to be reused, because the ones before would just fall off and go into the ocean and get destroyed by the impact of the water, because at the speeds that heavy things fall, it creates damage. It's like cement. So we're able to reuse this, and we're talking about saving billions of dollars for these rockets. They're not hundreds of millions of dollars. They're like billions of dollars each booster. So we're saving tons of money doing that, reusing them, and they can be quickly reused. So they can get, they get checked out, make sure they're okay, they get refilled, and boost off another place. So once we're really getting into space, when we're really creating an economy in space, we'll be able to get space, people in space, within days. Every other day you probably can get somebody into space, which corporations will love, because they want to get out to the Kuiper Belt and start mining new materials. And instead of destroying the Earth, just take out those random rocks out on the Kuiper Belt. That's a belt of rocks that surrounds our solar system. Start mining those for materials to create things, or just to sell the minerals. And there are stuff that are yet to be undiscovered. If you look at the periodic table, we have some missing blocks, and those are blocks that we theorize that someday, some way will be filled, because science, the universe makes sense, and it's not some random thing like some people believe. It's actually a puzzle, and when you put those pieces together, and you know that if you have a puzzle of the Serengeti, and you see a tail, and there's a piece of puzzle that's supposed to fit there, which should be an animal. It's this common sense. You start looking for the animal that would fit that tail and place it in. That's the same thing as our periodic table. We know there's certain elements that we have not discovered that should fit in there, and we're hoping to find those in outer space, because we can't seem to find it on Earth. I digress. So this is and I'm excited, because we're probably that's a good test. We're probably gonna put people in it the next time and fly around somewhere. Then we're probably gonna go to the moon with it, and then once we go to the moon with it, we're gonna go to Mars with it. And the technologies invented to make this happen are going to be amazing. They're going to add to our life, and they're going to add to our economy. And they're being made now. There's tons of corporations that are trying to get these contracts from the government and SpaceX and from the Space Force, and they're all trying to do it at the most efficient and low cost and the best. And as we run through all these different inventions and these different trials and errors, space will be constantly upgrading itself to be more efficient and more prosperous. So we're there. I would say we're going to venture to the moon within the next 2 years, maybe even sooner. I believe it. This test means that could possibly happen. Well, that's their goal. And I mean, let me tell you something. And I'm going to say it here. People laugh at the Space Force, but that's going to be the front line of what America will give its energy to and its money to. And like the Army, Air Force, and the Marines, you know, they're going to be less likely to get that money. And their old system, capitalism in the next 10 years will be in space. And there's going to need a Space Force to make sure that people act correct, that people are not pirating, stealing, that some idiots don't bring back some toxic shit back into Earth. And we're going to need a Space Force to monitor those people. And of course it's going to have to be the United States because we're always the policemen. And because we're the most powerful. It makes no sense for the less powerful to be the policeman because they will suck at it. And because the people more powerful than them will just snicker at their laws. You need a powerful force to enforce the laws in space. China's not going to play right. They just don't have the values to play right. They just act in their own interest very selfishly. And you need someone like the United States to make sure they don't cause some shit or bring back some shit or steal some shit, because that's the history of them right now. This is how they do work, because they're trying to beat the United States and trying to do it at all costs. We're trying to do it in a way that it keeps to our values as much as possible. I have no doubt that the government's doing things that we probably wouldn't like just to maintain and keep up with China. We're more military and advanced. We're more advanced because they have to steal our shit. We don't steal nothing from them. Because you know why we don't steal nothing from them? Because their stuff is not as good as ours. And that's it. Because I think if they had something very like Russia and United States back in the day in the Cold War, they stole from each other because they were pretty equal. They tried to find out what was happening. We ended up to pull away because capitalism brings more ingenuity, more inventions, and more prosperity, and socialism couldn't keep up. Communism couldn't keep up, and we outspent them because we had a greater economy. That's neither here nor there. But what I'm trying to say to you is that we're going to need a Space Force to make sure that governments, countries act right and do the right thing. And if you want to be at the cutting edge of technology and science and military, it's going to be in space, in the Space Force. If you're thinking about going into Marines, then you should rethink that. That's all I'm saying. Or the Army. Air Force is a subsidiary of the Air Force, but I'm pretty sure it's going to absorb the Air Force instead of the Air Force absorbing it. And the Navy, I don't know. We'll see what happens. But I'm excited. So let's get into some pop culture. There's a lot of rumblings happening in the Star Wars world. Chewie concurs. Basically, the last three movies were an utter failure due to Catherine Kennedy, who was in charge of those movies, and they were crap. None of the actors liked it, and unfortunately, the actors were not able to give their opinion. Like Mark Hamill hated every moment of what the director wanted him to do in the Last Jedi. We know Daisy Riley, her name is Ray. She had like almost half her scenes cut, where she has this great battle with Palpatine that she did a bunch of training for, that she just cut out, and not I don't know if that would have made the movie better, maybe would have made it more interesting, but Catherine Kennedy got fired because she produced bad results, and now Lucas is coming back, along with Jon Favreau, who's doing The Mandalorian. The Mandalorian's a great show, and he did a lot of the Marvel, and he's trying to create this 10-year, 20-year span of Marvel movies that have the same theme. Star Wars movies that have the same theme, which Marvel did over 10 years. They played the long game. Every one of their movies pointed to a big event, which we now know is Infinity Wars and Endgame. And we're looking, and they're trying to do that with Star Wars right now. And George Lucas is taking all the extra footage of what was which was made during those last three movies, and trying to bring it all back to curve the story a little bit to make it make more sense. They're bringing Hayden Christensen back as Darth Vader. We know in the Kenobi, they're going to do a Kenobi series where Hayden Christensen will play Darth Vader. And we also, and we hopefully, and George is writing it along with another person named Dave Filoni, who's really deep into Star Wars and the legacy part, and I don't want to get into all that. But the fact of the matter is this, that they're redoing it, they're reshaping it. Some of the stories, we're going to get some added storyline subtext for those movies to make them make sense, or make them act better. But there's one thing I want to say that I know that's a quick fix for Rey. And one of the major problems that people have with the character of Rey in Star Wars is that she had no learning curve. She just was awesome right off the bat. And there's probably some social justice going on there, because they don't want a woman learning from a mean old curmudgeon man, Luke Skywalker, and so she just didn't have a learning curve. But but now that we know that she is a Palpatine, she's from the descendants of the Palpatine. We just need to clarify that more and say she's not a descendant of Palpatine; that she is a clone of Palpatine, and that's why she has no learning curve. She's awesome because she, as her mind releases memories or abilities that she had as Darth Sidious, this is why she had no learning curve. This is why she was able to, glamour, that's a vampire word, stormtroopers, why she was able to fight with Kylo Ren and Luke Skywalker and be a powerful force without being trained. I think that makes sense. I think that makes it okay. The ridiculousness of that is that she is a clone, a girl clone of Palpatine that just didn't work out or whatever, or he has an experiment on a planet and she just figured out, and where she had to fend for herself on that planet. We see her in the first movie. But if she's a clone, then it makes sense that she is just as powerful, if not more powerful, than Kylo Ren and Luke Skywalker, because we know Darth Sidious is one of the strongest Sith Lords ever. So I think that explains that. And also, it leaves us a door open that if Palpatine can come back, so can Luke Skywalker. And so can Anakin Skywalker. If Palpatine figured out how people can come back, how the life force can exist past death and be dumped into a clone body, then you can bring back any character you want from Star Wars that has died, right? You can bring Obi-Wan Kenobi back. You can bring them all back. And I think it gives another level of subtext with Rey that as she begins to understand what she is and her fight with the dark side becomes more of a struggle, I think that can bring some depth to the character that wasn't written in the movies. And I think that could be a fix. But I'm excited about what they're doing. They're going to come out with the second season of Mandalorian should start implementing all these new ideas. And we know we have an Obi-Wan Kenobi show. And we know they're going to make 3 new movies. And all these things will start pointing to a major event. And we know Luke Skywalker, Anakin Skywalker, and Obi-Wan Kenobi will all be Force ghosts at the very least. You know, at the end of Return of the Jedi, and they would be, you know how they're there in their ghost form, able to talk into the mind of Jedis who are sensitive to that. We will definitely see a lot of that discussions with Jedi to try to lead them down the right path, so those actors will come back. So, very interesting what's coming up. So, we're at the beginning of it. So, you know, you didn't know where Marvel was going with Iron Man and Captain America. We didn't know it pointed to this one event until we sort of got it, you know. Once we were halfway through it, they were telling us this is pointing to some major event. Well, we know this now. And the next set of movies and TV shows for Star Wars will lead to a major event or lead down this elaborate storyline that George Lucas and Jon Favreau and Dave Filoni are making up right now. And they fired all the old people. And they should never work in movies again, because they screwed up one of the most successful franchises in human history concerning storytelling. And they shit all over it, and they're bringing in the big guns to fix it. And they're going to use all this deleted material to make it work. So I'm excited to see what it comes to. And we're going to get the Lucas cut of all those. And we'll see what happens. Now, Star Trek. Now, this is in limbo right now, the movies. We know that there's a contract dispute between Chris Hemsworth and Chris Pine. They think they're fighting over who makes more money, and they're trying to work through that, because what they want to do is bring the Kelvin line, which we're at now, back into the normal one. And the way you do that is make sure that George Kirk, who dies in the first movie, which was a great scene, one of the best scenes of all Star Trek. So in Star Trek news, a couple of things. We know that the movies are on hold, and because there's a contract dispute between Chris Pine and Chris Hemsworth, somebody wants to get paid more than the other, and I'm pretty sure they're standing their ground. And the new movie will potentially fix the Kelvin line. George Kirk, Captain Kirk's father, dies, which wasn't supposed to happen. That sends Captain Kirk down a totally different timeline, and he destroys Vulcan, which doesn't happen in the timeline where George Kirk doesn't die. So the new story, the new adventure would be Captain Kirk working with his father, George Kirk, in correcting the timeline and making him live. And so those actors will definitely have to work with each other and restore the old timeline, which all the Star Trek lovers will love, and who watch all the TV shows, and also the people who are not Star Trek lovers, they'll like it as long as it's action-packed and a good story. So, and then people don't mind sequels. So basically, it'll be a time travel movie. Captain Kirk going back in the past, saving his father, and creating the new timeline. Because if I was writing it, I would say there's something happening in the thing. Most likely, the Federation's losing the Klingon War because of the new timeline, and it's about to get destroyed. And somehow they find the reason why, and it has to do with George Kirk's death. So they have to go back and fix that so they can fix this new timeline. They get back to the old timeline where the Federation is powerful and not dying. So that's what I think they're going to do, which will be a good idea as long as they make it great. And as long as the acting is great. And Chris Pine and Chris Hemsworth are very charismatic and great actors. And it'll be great to see them on the screen together. Hopefully they get past this contract dispute and become in sync with each other. But the TV shows, the Star Trek TV shows are coming out. We got 3 of them. They got one Discovery. And Star Trek Discovery is coming out later this year. And Star Trek, I forget, is going to do the Enterprise with Captain Pine and young Spock, some adventures there, which will be cool with the Star Trek Enterprise without Captain Kirk. Or maybe they implement Captain Kirk in the middle of the show. Who knows? But that's going to happen. And we still got the Picard TV show. Now, the rumor is that they set up all these shows to sell it because CBS is going broke and they can't afford these shows. So they set up all these different shows that are not real. So what I heard, so they can sell it to another channel or network that is doing more successful. But it shows on CBS app that Star Trek Discovery is coming, that they got the season done. So, but they might be holding back on the other 2, the second season of Picard and the first season of this new one. They have one called Lower Decks. It's the cartoon where they deal with people who are not like captains and lieutenants, that they run the everyday show and all the drama that comes from people who are on the lower decks who don't have command and all the personal conflicts. It's a cartoon. I haven't watched it yet. I'm planning to watch it. I'm planning to watch it because there's not much on CBS that I really like other than those shows. So as soon as Discovery comes on, I'll pay for the service for as long as the show is running, and I'll watch Lower Decks right along with it. And yeah, so we'll see what happens there, but I'm waiting for Discovery. And it's a new concept where they go 1,000 years into the future, and the Federation is not what it is supposed to be. It's not what it used to be. So it's going to be very interesting. So, hey, we've been watching a lot of TV shows in this quarantine and a lot of movies, and I watched a shitload, and I know you did too. And I just want to give you my opinions on all the ones that I liked. Most of them are sci-fi or fantasy. Some are mystery. Some are detectives. But most of them are that. And I'm just going to run down what I thought of each one. And what was my reviews. As my review, they're potatoes. They do tomatoes. James Salazar Media does potatoes. Potatoes. You can't have no potatoes, Chewy. You cannot have no potatoes. Oh, my God. There's nothing to laugh about, Mr. Computer, Mr. AI, Mr. Overlord of the future. That is
I am a robot.
Citizens of the Earth, you will be destroyed.
okay. We got that out of our system. So let me just run through them. Okay. So one of them I caught that didn't come out this year was For All Mankind on the Apple network, and this is a great show. It tells a story of if United States didn't make it on the planet first. I mean, didn't make it to the moon first, but that Russia did. And it sort of tries to write a story from that point of view, and it's amazing. It's great. It's very futuristic. It acts like we didn't have any pauses in our space program. And I guess at the end of the day, what this TV show does is it shows us probably if Russia got there first, we probably would have been farther along in our space program because of our competitiveness. So it's a very interesting show. It's one of the best. I give it a 4.5 potatoes. If you like science fiction, but it's written well. It's written in the past during the Kennedy administration. So that. Then I got Warrior Nun. Warrior Nun I just watched. It's a TV show by Netflix, and I liked it. I don't want to give any spoilers in it, but the girl who plays the Warrior Nun, she is charismatic, and I see her being a big star. Definitely. I mean, she's beautiful. Her personality, I don't know if it truly is charismatic and appealing. So if it's written that way and she's really an asshole in life, I don't know. But I enjoyed her performance and the story. And there's a lot of other good performances in there. It's very action-packed, but it's good to see nuns kick ass. And there's this Asian nun that she's like they're like the one they go to kill. She's badass. Badass. So I give Warrior Nun 4.5 potatoes. Umbrella Academy. Just finished that. And if you have not watched this, it's an amazing story. It's quirky, it's unique, but it's super fun to watch. And there's a kid in there that just steals the show and just steals the scene every moment he can, and he does. And this kid's gonna be a big actor. I'm not gonna tell you. He's known as Number 5, and the story's amazing. We're in the second season, and it's just as good as the first, different as well. And I give that a 5 potatoes. 5 potatoes for its quirkiness and fun. When you're watching it, you want to watch more. It's just fun. The dialogue and how they react and all the characters are perfectly written. And it's funny. So, yeah. 5 potatoes. Ozarks. We got one more season coming up. The 3rd season was amazing. There's an actor in there that plays the brother of the wife. He's amazing. People need to know what bipolar and schizophrenia is, what it's really like. People need to see that performance. He should get an award. I'm not sure if he got a Grammy for that, but it's the story is amazing. Once again, Marty Bird is trying to get everybody out of trouble, but more forces are working against him this time than ever before. His family's working against him as well, and how he gets out of it and how he deals with it is amazing. It's great writing. It is known as one of the best shows on Netflix. It is 5 potatoes a long time ago and still maintaining the 5 potatoes. Hannibal. I just watched Hannibal. Now, this is a show that's been done for like 4 or 5 years now. It is so dark, but so well written. And it is man, you think Anthony Hopkins, nothing could be more creepier than his portrayal of Hannibal Lecter. But this actor, shit, I'm mad that I didn't get the actor's name in my head. But everybody acts phenomenal. Everybody is amazing in this. The story is amazing. It's very gory and it's very, very dark. The subject matters are extremely mature, and it's not for everyone. But the portrayals of each character are done amazingly. I can't say it. I can't gush on this enough. The way it's filmed is so artistic. So much thought went into every scene and how it wanted to look. It must have been expensive to make, but it's a show like no other. It gets 5 potatoes. I know I'm giving everything 5 potatoes. Maybe I'm just pointing out the things I loved this time. Hannibal is a must-watch if you like mysteries, and if you like detective, and if you like gore. He's a cannibal. So, Hannibal the cannibal. So, yeah, I give it 5 potatoes. Definitely watch it if you have not watched it. It's not for the squeamish, though. And the darkness of Hannibal Lecter and the darkness he brings these people into, it's a trip, for sure. Now, I watched The Last Kingdom with Uther Abebamba. It's good. It's a good season, but I'm getting a little frustrated that Uther Abebamba is not getting his revenge. The story led up in the beginning like it was going to happen. But, his loyalties and having to make deals with people keep him from doing that. And it's getting a tiny bit old, but this is a very good show. And, I give it like 4.5 potatoes, all the other ones. This one gets a 3 potato, but it's still very interesting to watch to see what happens to him, because it's not like nothing happens to him. A lot of interesting things happen to him, and Uther does what Uther does. And he bucks against the system. And once you think he's making a mistake, he comes back with something brilliant. So, yeah, it's really good. But I'm looking for them to resolve this issue that he's had since the first season, of getting his own kingdom or his own property back that his father owns, that his uncle took. And so we'll see that happen, hopefully, in the next season. So, yeah, I give it about 3 potatoes this last season. And we have Sabrina. Now, Sabrina, one of the Chilling Adventures of Sabrina, it's one of the best shows on Netflix. It's so fun, so quirky and kooky. It's about a witch, and their coven worships the devil, and in all the funniness, and it's fun. It's just a fun show, and all the actors are great, and the story's cool, and it's not you like it, think it's like Buffy the Vampire Slayer, but not. It has that charisma to it. It has that charm to it. There's a lot of shows like that out there that attempt to do what Sabrina does, but they can't capture the magic like Buffy the Vampire Slayer. It catches that kind of magic, and it's very fun to watch. And I give it 5 potatoes. One of my favorite shows. Very upset that they're only coming back with 1 season, because you can go on and on with this show, and anybody will watch it because it's fun to watch. So you get really sad, but there's gonna be 1 more season, and hopefully they tie off the story in a way that the fans like. But I'll give it. Overall, I give the whole show 5 potatoes, but I'll give the last season 4.5. Now, Netflix is bringing in some big guns to make movies, and they brought in Chris Hemsworth with, I think it's Extraction. They brought in Charlize Theron for the Old Guard, and what's his name? The guy from what's his name? Hold on, I hate that I don't remember these guys' name. Oh yeah, Ryan Reynolds, Deadpool guy. They did a show called Six Underground. They're all like military movies. The one with Chris Hemsworth, he's the guy who kills people. The Charlize Theron, they're a clandestine group that gets things done, and same thing with Ryan Reynolds. They're like more like a crime syndicate that can rob places. They're a group of people, but they put some big actors in there, and they're all good movies. And I think they're all getting their part 2. They're going to try to keep these going, but they have the same feel. There's action adventure movies, and they're all great. I say watch them all. They're really good. They're not bad. Then let's head over to I know I've been talking about Netflix. Let's head over to what is that? That's Prime, Amazon Prime. They have this show called Ascensia. It's alright. It starts with a good premise. And if you liked Castle, the actress, she's in there, and she is gone for so many years, and then she suddenly reappears, and she has a loss of time, and she has to figure out, and her whole life has changed, and she's trying to find out how, and what happened, because everybody thought she was dead. So it's a good show. I'll give it, 3 potatoes. It's worth watching. They're coming out with a new season. They just came out with a new season. I don't feel compelled to watch it because the first season is the best, and the second season she's trying to solve a mystery, and it's not really about her being missing anymore. So I don't know what the third season is going to be about. I might take time to watch it. I'm not sure. Then we have The Hunters. This is a great show. You have great actors. You have Al Pacino in it, and he plays these Israelis, American Jews, who back in the 70s, who are hunting down old Nazis and killing them because and it's based on real life. That not those exact people, but there was a time where there was the Mossad, the Israeli intelligence, and American intelligence were all hunting Nazis to bring them to justice, and this plays on that. It's a really good show, really good acting, good twist in it, and it's cool. It's very good, and I give definitely 4.5 potatoes. And last but not least, Upload. This is a very good show. It's very futuristic in the sense that, and it's very fun, and it's a comedy. And hold on, trying to get my thoughts together here. It's basically we're able to download consciousness, and we're getting to the rich and the poor here, and those who you either die or you can have your conscious upload, and you can still stay alive in this virtual world, but it all how rich you are determines how much bandwidth you have that you're conscious. So the poor maybe have about 10 minutes a month to be alive, and they're in some like dungy place. But the rich, they're living in this hotel and this nice property, and they get that, and they're always alive. I mean, they're always conscious. They're not in a holding pattern, and it's great stuff concerning downloading consciousness and the moral ramifications of what that means, and how the rich still live better in an upload society than the poor. So it explores a lot of fun and serious topics. So it gets 4.5 potatoes. It's super fun. It's meant to make you laugh, but it has some social commentary underneath. And finally, The Space Force show on Netflix was. I know it's made to make the president of the United States look stupid, and so that everybody in the Space Force is stupid. But it's just good writing and good comedy. It doesn't really appreciate it, but as long as they write well and it's funny, and the general played by Steve Carell, it is, and John Malkovich is his like co-partner in the show. It is super funny, super good circumstances. It makes fun of China, makes fun of us, it makes fun of everything. It's totally comedy, and I know people are taking the Space Force in real life like it's a joke, like Ronald Reagan's Star Wars, which couldn't be implemented with success at that time, but it was a bluff by President Reagan, and it worked, and he's brilliant for that, because quite frankly, the Russians didn't have the technology to call our bluff. They can, did we have some satellites up there that has guns to knock down the nuclear weapons, and so if there was a nuclear war, only Russia would be damaged and not the U.S. because of its Star Wars laser or in space? Who knows? So people made fun of the president when he said it, and they're sort of making fun of the president now. And I get it, but it's very enjoyable. It's very funny. Steve Carell's awesome. He plays an idiot, and it plays in a sense it plays everybody in government an idiot, and I think that's intellectually honest. I would say the only thing is I think though generals and there might be some generals that are idiots, and the only thing I would say about that, they might be idiots, but not as much as idiots as those who are running the Congress, and those are blithering idiots. And that's all I have to say about that. But it's a great show. I give it 4.5 potatoes. It's funny. You'll laugh all the way through it, and it's great. And I'm hoping to see season 2. And don't worry, SpaceX, we're going to space. Something devastating might have to happen. We've been not doing very good right now, so let's cross our fingers and hope the economy comes back. I really want the economy to come back, and I want less people to die, but people die every day. And we have to find out within the numbers, the truth of the numbers, whether all this shutting down makes a difference or not. Because if it doesn't make a difference, if the numbers tell us that it doesn't make the difference, then we are doing a double hit, because there will be people who die because the economy fails. There will be people who will resort to crime out of desperation and hurt other people and hurt themselves. And there'll be people who will be so depressed that they'll kill themselves. And there'll be people who will be so depressed or angry that they'll hurt other people, whether it be their wives or their kids. There's so many bad things that come from a bad economy that we can just open up and take care of. Believe in the people, social distance, wear your masks, and vote out any governor who feels they should take the law into their own hands and not bet on the better nature of the American people. So, my friends, if you agree or disagree with anything I have to say, just put it in JamesSalazarMedia.com. You can look at or you can put it in the comments, because this will be posted on YouTube, on my YouTube channel, and you can just put it on below on comments and what you thought I had right or what I thought I had wrong, and I'll definitely address it. But if you want to follow me on Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, Pinterest, Facebook, just type in James Salazar Media. I should come up. Please subscribe to any of those that you see fit. Please subscribe to the podcast and give it a rating and give it a review. I would greatly appreciate it to get some feedback on what I'm doing. I would generally appreciate it. And there'll be things coming as we come out of the pandemic and out of the quarantine. I will be implementing and I'll be speaking at those things in the future. Coming out with a new book. I'm also getting ready with a new coaching program. And I'm going to have some free stuff to give away. I'm opening up my t-shirt company in the next month here. It went down during COVID. Oh, before that, it went down like 6 months before COVID because it just needed a better system and with new designs. So a lot of things are going to be coming up. And so, my friends, until then, if you find yourself on your knees, stand tall. Take a look at that storm and say what my sensei Jack Burton always says. Give me your best shot. Strike the music.